ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ॐ त्वमेव माता च पिता त्वमेव त्वमेव बन्धुश्च सखा त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव देव। ओम गुरुदेव भगवान शिव शंकर भोलेनाथ कैलाशपति महाराज की जय। भगवान व्यास जी महाराज की जय। शंकराचार्य भगवान की जय। स्वामी चिन्मयानंद भगवान की जय। स्वामी दयानंद भगवान की जय। स्वामी प्रबुद्धानंद भगवान की जय। स्वामी शुद्धानंद भगवान की जय। साध्वी आनंद ज्योति जी की जय। सभी गुरु देवताओं की जय। माता पिता की जय। सभी गुरु देवताओं की जय। सभी गुरु देवताओं की जय। श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारी हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा। श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारी हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा। Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6 and verse number 6, we have to see. In verse number 5, Bhagwan had explained, may one lift oneself by oneself, may one not destroy oneself, for the self alone is the one's benefactor and the self alone is one's enemy. Therefore Bhagwan says one alone himself is oneself's friend, enemy or enemy. Nobody else. So you have to teach yourself, because this is the only thing which is swatah pramanit. Self is only swatah pramanit. Everything else has a pramana through sense organs. Only self is self-evident. Only self, oneself, the self which is one with the Paramatma is self-evident. Rest all, everything including this body is through sense organs. Everything else is proved by sense organs. Only therefore we don't have to go anywhere in search, to just be oneself. To discover Ishvara, we don't have to go to any place. To discover Ishvara, we don't have to do anything else. We just have to understand correct the view. And Ishvara is. Therefore, one is one's friend or one's enemy. If one moves in search, moves means he looks for Ishvara correctly, he is friend with himself. One should not destroy oneself. One should lift oneself up. Since one has to take care of oneself at every level, in the final analysis, there is no other force, nothing external to yourself that can help you. It is you who is going to help yourself. Oneself means one's own body, mind and sense complex. Karya Karana Sangathan. This Karya Karana Sangathan along with the will is both the friend and enemy of the Atma. In other words, you can be either your own benefactor or your own enemy. This means that to become free from this samsara, another person cannot become your bandhu, a benefactor for you. Only you can do what is to be done to grow or to mature within the samsara. Another person may be helpful, but to get out of samsara, you have to release yourself. You have to put in the efforts. In fact, where moksha is concerned, the very person who was previously your benefactor could very well become an obstruction to you. Moha. Bandhu implies affection and friendship, which can also be binding, even though such qualities may be quite helpful to your emotional growth. Therefore, in analysis in terms of gaining moksha, you are the only one who can be friend to yourself. And unless you become a friend to yourself, you become inimical and enemy to yourself. Then Bhagavan says in verse number 6, Bandhuratmanaatmanatasya yena te tameva atmana jitah anatmanastu shatrutve vartata atmeva shatruvat. Yena, by whom? Atmana eva, by oneself alone. Atma, oneself. Jitah, has been mastered. Tasya, for the person. Self, Atma, the self. Atmanah, of oneself. Bandhuhu, friend. Tu, whereas. Anatmanah, or for the self who has not mastered oneself. Atma, the self. Iva, alone. Shatruvat, like an enemy. Shatrutve, in the status of an enemy. Vartave, would remain. This means for the self who has mastered oneself by oneself, the self alone is friend of oneself. Whereas for the self who has not mastered oneself, the self alone would remain in the same status of an enemy, like an enemy. Here Bhagavan says, Tasya here refers to the Atma, oneself discussed in the previous verse. For that self, the self is a friend. When the self has been won over, Jitah, And what self is being discussed here? What Atma can be won over? It cannot be Satchitanand Atma, because one can only win over something that can be objectified. And the only object of which one has the I notion, Atma Buddhi, is the Karya Karana Sangathan. The body mind sense complex. It is the complex that is in one's hand and has to be mastered. Won over by whom? By oneself. Who should overcome the Atma? Who should overcome the Karya Karana Sangatana? Body mind sense complex? Oneself. The Atma, meaning one's own inquiry, one's own discipline, one's own will, and one's own effort. Who wins over this Anatma? The three powers at our disposal to master. The one who has mastered the body mind sense complex is called Vashi. The one who has mastered these is called Vashi. The body mind sense complex serves this person with the threefold power. Shaktis, it is endowed with Jnana Shakti, the power to think. Shaktis, it is endowed with Jnana Shakti, the power to think, explore and remember. What is Jnana Shakti? A Shakti which thinks, the power to think, to explore, to know and to remember is Jnana Shakti. Then there is Ichha Shakti, the power to desire, to will, and Kriya Shakti, the power to act and to make or do. These three powers are at the disposal of one who is a Vashi, who has mastered the body mind sense complex, the Sangathan, body, mind and sense objects, sense organs. The one who has mastered the body, mind and sense organs has Jnana Shakti, has Ichha Shakti and has Kriya Shakti. These three powers are at the disposal of one who is a Vashi, who has mastery over the entire Karya Karana Sangatana. When you have mastery over the body, mind and senses, then all their powers are with you. Therefore, the Karya Karana Sangatana becomes the benefactor for gaining that which is desirable and to take you anywhere to Brahma Loka or even to Moksha or Brahman. If you are in control of your mind, body and sense organs, then you can discover Brahman easily. This is the maximum it can do, because you cannot become greater than Brahman. You are already Brahman. In fact, as one who has master over the body, mind, sense complex, you are endowed with the powers you require to recognize this fact. Because you gain punya by following a life of dharma, the Karya Karana Sangatana again becomes a bandhu, and for gaining moksha, it also becomes a benefactor to you. So the same Karya Karana Sangatana, the body, mind and sense complex, is benefactor to you all the way, provided of course it is won over by you. If you are under control of the body, mind, senses, then only prarthana can save you. Now suppose the body, mind, sense complex is not won over by you, but instead is holding you hostage. Then what happens? The body, mind, sense complex cannot become bandhu for you. Instead, you are a bandhu for the body, mind and senses. In this way, the same Atma, Karya Karana Sangatana, becomes a ripu, an enemy. They become Shatru. One who creates obstructions for you, one who puts the proverbial spoke in your wheels, proverbial spokes in your wheel. The person who does not have Atma, oneself in his or her own hand, is called Anatma in this verse. This is the person for whom the Karya Karana Sangathan remains as an enemy alone, meaning that the self plays the role of an enemy. Krishna makes it very clear that there is no enemy other than oneself alone. Generally, we point a finger to someone other than ourselves and declare that person an enemy. This is done by everyone to some degree or other. And if no one is available locally, Saturn, Sun or some other planet will be accused. Everyone feels prosecuted by someone or something. Always there is some imagined fear in people that makes them point at someone as enemy. By doing this, of course, you are giving the other person a handle with which he or she can disturb you. No one can disturb you unless you allow them to. Nevertheless, people do have this prosecution problem to some extent and they suffer from it. In fact, whenever you point out an enemy with your index finger, you are accusing finger. There are 3 remaining fingers that point back towards you. These 3 fingers therefore are said to stand for a physical body, mind and senses. The Karya Karan Sangathan, that is Atma, oneself, the only enemy there is. In this way, the Atma occupies the place of enemy. It is like an external enemy. It is inimical to you. Your mind is with you wherever you go. When you analyze your complaints, you find that they are mental, meaning they are of the mind. You allow yourself to be affected by the world, and then afterward you call the world bad and renounce it. You want to renounce this world you have labeled bad and go to the world that you have imagined to be good, which is called fantasy. But when you go to this good world, you find it as bad as one you left behind. Why? Because you carry your own mind, the enemy with you. You do not leave it behind. In the same mind that interpreted the world as bad is not given up, and with that mind you move on to the so-called good world. So the mind is carried with you wherever you go. Even if you go to heaven, you will find problems there because the same mind goes with you. It is carried forward and carried over. And having this same mind, the complaining mind, you always find enough reasons to complain. Whatever the place or the circumstances, this is what Krishna means when he says the one is indeed like an enemy for oneself. When you carry such a mind with you, the mind that is always interpreting given situation according to its own notions, even your guru considered to be the greatest bandhu, benefactor, cannot help you. What can any guru do if the person is always thinking, my guru does not care about me? I don't think he considers me as a good student, and so on. You make such conclusions because of that same mind alone. Finally speaking, you are the only bandhu here. Please understand, it is the mind, body, sense organ, sangathan that plays the game. If under control, it is bandhu. If under controls, you have 3 powers. The 3 powers we have discussed. These 3 powers we will discuss again and again. These 3 powers are Jnana Shakti. Ichha Shakti, and Kriya Shakti. If these three are under control, if these three problem is body, mind, sense complex is under control, then these three are powers, shastras, to gain moksha. Bhagavan discusses the person who is a friend to oneself in verse number 7. Let us try to recite the verse. जितात्मनः प्रशान्तस्य परमात्मा समाहितः शीतोष्णसुखदुःखेषु तथा मानाप्नुमानयो मान अपमानयो जित आत्मनः प्रशान्तस्य परमात्मा समाहितः शीतोष्ण सुख दुःखेषु तथा मान अपमानयो. This is what Bhagavan says. Sheet Ushna Sukha Dukkheshu. Second line of the verse says, with reference to heat and cold, pleasure and pain, tataha, so too, mana apmanasyoho, with the reference to praise and criticism. Mana apmana. Jita atmanaha, the one who has mastery over oneself. Parasantasya, for the one whose mind is tranquil. Atma, the mind. Param samahitaha, is always in state of composure. For the one who has mastery over oneself, whose mind is tranquil, with reference to heat and cold, pleasure and pain, and praise and criticism, the mind is always in state of composure. This sama. This we have already. Samahita, the word sama, is not bothered by. This verse can be looked in at two ways, depending on whether the word param is placed with samahita or atma. First we shall look it as atma, mind, param samahita, and when we shall look it as paramatma samahita, as Shankara does in his commentary. So first we will see param samahita, atma, when atma is samahita, and then paramatma samahita. We have already seen the meaning of jita atma, one whose body, mind, sense are mastered. The one whose body, mind and senses are mastered is called samahita, is called. To have mastery over your mind means that you are not carried away by its various moods. In other words, mood should be left to grammar. That is imperative mood, potential mood, subjunctive mood, and so on. For one who has mastered the mind, there are no other moods than sense. Than these. There are no other moods. The only moods. People are generally subject to moods. In the morning there is one mood. In the evening there is another mood. And in between there are so many more. When the moods of the mind are understood properly, you are not carried away by the mind. This is not to say that you should not have moods. To even suggest such a thing puts you in bad mood. Please do not think that Swamiji say you should not have mood. Have your moods. by all means and understand them so that you will not be carried away by them. If you can gain the space necessary to come out on top of the mood, then the mood does not take you as its hostage. This is what is meant by Chitta Atma, one who has mastered his or her moods. Moods means mastering the mind. The nature of tranquility. Naturally, such a person will be one whose mind is tranquil. Parashanta. Why? Because he or she is Jitatma, one who is not carried away by the moods of the mind. For the one who is Jitatma and Prashanta, there is no situation that can disturb the person. The mind is always in one's hand, meaning that it is always composed. Param Samahita. It never loses itself in any situation. When everything is going well, when the food you want is right there, when the music is just right, when the people you want to talk to are readily available, it is not difficult for the mind to be composed. In this verse, however, we are talking about the person whose mind is always composed. Parama Samahita, in all situations. The compound here is Sita Shita Ushna Sukha Dukkheshu, stand for all situations. All situations, the mind remains composed. There is no way the mind is disturbed. The mind is composed through understanding of the moods. Mind is absolutely silent. Paramashanta. Parashanta. Shita means cold, not simply pleasantly cold, but so cold that you cannot stand it. Similarly, Ushna means unpleasantly hot. Thus, the cold and the heat referred to here is not all that comfortable. Then there are situations that give people some kind of sukha, comfort, happiness, pleasures, and other situations that give dukkha, discomfort, unhappiness, and sorrow. In all of the constantly changing situations, one who has mastery over the mind remains always composed. For such a person, there is no question of dukkha coming, because for dukkha to come, one's composure must already be gone. The point being made here is that all these situations that generally bring about sukha or dukkha for people create no disturbance whatsoever in the mind of the person whose mind is always composed. This verse also points out one more set of opposites. Manaha, mana and apmana. Mana, praise, and apmana, censure or shame. These two are given special mention here because they are very difficult to deal with. Even praise can be hard to handle. Sometimes, because when someone praises you, you may think the person is going to ask you for something. Therefore, you are afraid. You can handle the praise all right, but if it is just preamble to something else, you do not hear it because you are waiting for what is to come. Censure is always difficult. Apamana is always difficult to handle. Suppose someone says that he can handle criticism very well. All if another person counters by saying, no, you cannot, this itself is enough for the person to feel offended. It is because he cannot handle censure. Even though he thought he could. Another example of taking things personally and getting offended is when you are doing a particular job and someone tells you that you are not to do that job, you are to do another. Immediately you are inclined to take it personally. Why criticism is difficult to handle? Why is it so difficult to handle apamana? Criticism is very difficult to take because it is personalized. It touches some painful part of you. This problem comes from one's childhood. If parents constantly criticize their child, the criticism becomes a problem for the child. It creates a vulnerable area, a raw, sensitive area, and any subsequent criticism causes the pain to come out. This is the aspect of criticism that makes it difficult to handle. The person discussed in this verse is one who has taken care of these problems through proper understanding. Without proper understanding, new philosophies may be created, which are nothing but superimpositions upon the pain, sorrow, and other problems. To simply conclude that you should not subject yourself to censure does not work. You have to work on gaining mastery over your mind, because these opposites, hot and cold, pleasure and pain, praise and censure, are all disturbing elements for people. What Krishna is saying here is that these pairs of opposite do not disturb you. Therefore, make sure they do not disturb you. So Bhagavan says here that these pair of opposites disturb you. Therefore, make sure they do not disturb you. To say I should not be disturbed is superimposition upon you. The one who is disturbed and in fact is nothing but confused. People who preach that you should not be disturbed never help anyone, because whatever they say becomes superimposed on the old pain, what is already there. It becomes superimposed philosophy, a list of do's and don'ts, shoulds and should nots. The old pain that is inside simply becomes confused by new superimposed philosophy. Therefore, adding to the confusion that has already there, instead of new philosophy helping, it becomes a problem. So we need to understand very clearly what this verse is trying to say. In all situations, the person's mind, Atma, is always in the state of great composure, Param Samahita, and we have to work for such composure, which does not imply the superimposition of ideas. The verse can also be taken as how Shankaracharya ji took it. The person whose Karya Karan Sangathan is mastered is called a Jitam Jit Atma. And because his mind is tranquil, he is also called Parashanta. For such a person, Paramatma, Brahman, becomes the Atma. In other words, a person who has knowledge recognizes Satchitananda, Atma, Paramatma as one's own Atma. And such a person is one who is always the same, Samahita. Even when the situations change, he doesn't change. The person always remains the same, the mind remains the same. Further, Bhagavan says a wise person's attitude with reference to all objects in the world. He says, one whose mind is content in the knowledge of the self, who remains unchanged, who has mastered the sense organ and organ of action, for whom a clump of earth, a stone or gold are same, this composed person is referred to as yogi. In verse number 8, Bhagavan is going to explain this that the one who takes the clump of earth, a stone, and gold as same, he doesn't differentiate. There is no differentiation, is a composed person. A composed person is considered to be an yogi. And for this, mind has to be contented with knowledge of the self which remains unchanged. The one who has mastered the sense organs and organs of action. This person is going to be discussed in the verse number 8 by Bhagwan. Bhagwan is always going to talk about a yogi, sometime a karma yogi, sannyasa yogi, jnana yogi, dhyana yogi. So Bhagwan is going to keep on using the word yogi. The yogi is always the person who is composed. Jnani, the person of knowledge. This is what Bhagwan is going to explain in verse number 8, which we will see tomorrow. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudashyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Om Gurubhyo Namaha. हमारे स्वामी जी कहते धीरे धीरे आराम से पढ़ो, जल्दी जल्दी नहीं पढ़ सकते। श्रीमद् भगवद गीता वेदांत का हिस्सा, वेदांत है, संपूर्ण वेदांत ही है, अलग नहीं है वेदांत से, शास्त्रों से अलग नहीं है, वेदांत से अलग नहीं है भगवद गीता। भगवत गीता कोई कहानी नहीं है, कोई कथा नहीं है। भगवत गीता एक ज्ञान का उपदेश है। यह उपदेश भगवान ने स्वयं दिया है। भगवान स्वयं ये उपदेश देते हैं। कुछ किसे देते हैं? जो जानना चाहते हैं उसे देते हैं भाई। यहां पर एक कथा है जिसके अंदर श्री कृष्ण भगवान के रूप में, भगवान श्री कृष्ण रूप में अर्जुन जो कि एक ज्ञानी है, जो जिज्ञासु है, उसको ये ज्ञान दे रहे हैं। अदरवाइज श्रीमद् भगवद गीता जो ज्ञान लेना चाहता है उसके लिए ये हमेशा अवेलेबल है। और इसे जल्दी जल्दी बहुत फटाफट श्लोकों को पढ़ने से, श्लोकों को सुंदरता से, बड़ी मधुरता से गा देने से ज्ञान नहीं होता। श्लोकों का शुद्ध उच्चारण अति आवश्यक है। श्लोकों को सुंदरता से प्रस्तुत करना अनिवार्य है, जरूरी है, अच्छा है, क्योंकि वो अच्छा लगता है, कानों को अच्छा लगता है। पर इसमें जो अच्छा लगने की चीज है वो है ज्ञान, द नॉलेज, ज्ञान जो इन श्लोकों द्वारा दिया जा रहा है, ना कि गान। श्लोकों का शुद्ध उच्चारण होना चाहिए। मेरा नहीं है शुद्ध उच्चारण, ना ही मैं इसको गा सकता हूं। मैं कोई संस्कृत का ज्ञानी नहीं हूं, मुझे नहीं आता। पर जो स्वामी जी कहते हैं, जो स्वामी जी ने पढ़ाया है, वो मैं कोशिश करता हूं कि अपने आप को दोबारा बताऊं, पढ़ाऊं। यहाँ मैं किसी और को ना तो पढ़ा सकता हूं, ना पढ़ा रहा हूं, अपने आप को पढ़ा रहा हूं। ओम तत्सत.